The Creative Jungle podcast is all about speaking to and learning from inspiring entrepreneurs, creatives, and well-being experts. In each episode, we discuss their unconventional lives and journeys, what they've learned and how they've got to where they are now, any tips they can share with you so that you too may live a much more creative and happier life.
The podcast is brought to you by us, Dan and Sam. We're a couple who set up MYO and Creative Jungle Company, and we are all about helping people get creative and bringing a little bit more creativity to life and business. We host over 14 different arts and crafts workshops from our central London studio, virtually offsite at events and festivals. We have a range of creative kits, and we also run creative thinking workshops. So having helped thousands of people, we think we know a thing or two about helping people get creative and perhaps being a little bit happier. We hope to see you in the studio at some point soon too.
Be sure to subscribe so you can hear about future episodes. Right, let's get started. Here's the next episode.
So today on the podcast, we have the lovely Tania Ahmed. That's at Tania Ahmed, Ahmed, on Instagram. She's a workshop tutor and creates brilliantly colorful content and videos, whilst often being covered in glitter, glue, and paint. I haven't seen her hands yet, so there might be glitter all over them. No. They're clean today. There's a lot more to her than that, which we'll find out on this podcast episode.
Welcome, Tania.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. We've just been chatting a little bit about what Tania's been getting up to, and there's so much exciting stuff we're going to cover in this episode. But I guess just to begin, let's go right back to the beginning in terms of where you grew up and what it was like growing up when you were younger. You know, how did you discover your creative spark when you were younger? Let us know a bit about your childhood.
Well, I don't know if you can tell by my funny accent. I'm not 100% British, but I was born and raised in Pakistan. So I grew up in a city called Karachi, which is the biggest city of Pakistan. And I grew up in a very creative family, where creativity and having hobbies was basically a way of life.
Nice. So
whereas people would take up hobbies as adults, I grew up watching my aunts sew dresses, do crochet, knit, sew, cook, decorate, gardening, you name it. I was surrounded by creative women.
Nice.
Picturing lots of color every day.
Oh yeah, definitely. And my father is also a very highly skilled woodworker.
Yeah.
And so we had a bird cage that he made, and there was a dollhouse that was bigger than me that he made as well. We had furniture and shelves in the house and bookshelves and lots of things that he had built in the house. So I like to think that I get my love for detail from him.
Yeah, and it must have been so great. Like, I can imagine as a child seeing your dad building something, you know, and it looking beautiful in the house. That must have been so cool to see him doing that.
Oh, definitely. I had lots of little lovely memories growing up and being his little assistant. So my dad and I have this joke that I probably know his toolbox as well as he does.
Oh, I love that. Amazing. And when did you move over to England?
So I moved to the UK 13 years ago, and I fell in love and moved over. And
when you got married?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Was it the case when you moved, or even before, that you wanted to work full-time doing creative things? Like, was that the plan from your childhood to kind of emulate what your parents did or your family? Or was it kind of go to more traditional, get an office job kind of route?
Pretty much. I mean, I always wanted to be a teacher of some kind, and I didn't do very well at school. So I was never very book smart. And it wasn't until university when I finally started studying English that I realized that I do have more than 2 brain cells.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I pretty much assumed that I would be offered a contract at the university and that I would teach there for a couple of years, and I didn't really think that I would move abroad. And I thought that that would be my life. I never really thought that my hobby could become a job. I mean, like we were chatting earlier, it's like if 10 years ago somebody had told me that I'd be living the life I am right now, working as a creative tutor and video maker, I would have laughed, because it's just so fantastical. It's amazing that the world that we live in, you can pretty much make a job out of everything.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah, if you just persist at one thing and do it well, there's something out there that could generate an income.
Yeah.
And people out there that would be interested.
We always say that about even what we do. It's just, we're in a world, we're lucky to be in a world full of so much opportunity.
Oh my goodness, yes. And we have Google.
Yeah, and we have Google,
We have
Google
everyone
and YouTube.
Can find you.
Between Google and YouTube,
yeah, you can pretty much figure out how to do everything, because
Yeah.
I'm entirely self-taught.
Mm.
I have no artistic training at all.
Mm.
And I wanted to go to art school, but I wasn't able to. And my mom and I often had conversations, and she always regretted that you didn't get to go to art school. And I always say to her that if I had gone to art school, then my view of art and creativity would have been very, very blinkered and narrow.
Yeah.
Whereas I have multi-crafts experience with embroidery, knitting, macrame, jewelry making, paper crafting, mixed media, and my view of creativity is so much wider than it would have been if I had gone to school.
I completely
like I correct me if I'm wrong on saying this, but I think now there is a lot more people who are full-time creatives, and I never know what the right expression is, but I'll go with full-time creatives who didn't go the kind of more traditional art school route, but if the likes of Instagram have just helped them get their work out there. Because I think before you almost had to have a qualification to be seen by the right people and kind of get in the door. Whereas now it's like you can just showcase what you make all the time and kind of build up an audience. And you don't need to have the kind of qualification, which is great because it means everybody can potentially do it if they try hard enough.
Yeah, definitely. On that, actually, how would you describe your art? You know how you said your view of art is broad and you've experimented and played with so many things. How would you describe your art?
In one word, eclectic.
Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would definitely say eclectic, because I think I draw on so many different experiences of creativity that it sort of enhances what I do right now. I mean, my focus right now is papercraft and mixed media.
Yeah.
But I do teach things like macrame and block printing as well.
Nice.
And it's just having that experience has helped me to be a little bit of a mad scientist, so to speak.
Definitely.
So I love to find multiple uses for things. So that's usually my focus. Is like my videos and my tutorials and my classes are always very technique focused, because I'm always trying to encourage people to think out of the box, so to speak.
Yeah, and for people listening, do check out at Tania Ahmed. There's so much color and texture, like it's really, and just combinations of bubble wrap and different sheets of paper and cutting things and putting them all together and making notebooks. It's really, really nice and colorful. And it's kind of, what I really like about it is that everybody can try it. Everybody can give it a go. Like you can do a lot. I know you need some specialist equipment for some of the things, but for a lot of it, you can go scissors, paper, glues, and just have a play and mess around, which is really, really nice.
Yeah. You make it look very accessible.
Yeah.
You make
Then
it
that means I'm doing something right then.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, I scroll through your feed and I feel like, oh, I want to try this. I just want a couple of hours to try some of these videos because it just immediately makes my like hands itch to
Yeah.
try it. Yeah.
Because the thing is that us creatives, I'm sure you guys relate to this as well, is that we have this really big thing in our heads. We have imposter syndrome that's always telling us we're not good enough. How can I try this? And I need more practice and all that stuff. And I always encourage my followers that, don't be scared to be a beginner and to fail, because when you fail, it's actually an opportunity to learn. And I share my failures all the time on social media as well, just to show people that, because it's Instagram and social media, it's such a highlight reel. You see all this perfectly curated reels where projects have gone right, techniques have come out perfectly, whereas you don't see the giant pile of papers of discarded projects that didn't work, or didn't make the cut, or the camera didn't record, or the paint didn't do what it's supposed to do. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening in the background that people don't see. And my aim is to demystify the process of creativity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's really nice. I guess partly on that, and again, it's something that I think a lot of people are fascinated about, is like, what is a typical week like for you? As in, like, you're kind of on this full time, you're saying before, since late 2019. Like, what is a typical week like for you from a work point of view?
No week is the same. No week is the same, because at the moment, I do a few contracted things for some companies, but a lot of the time I am fielding freelance requests as well, and commissions. So it will depend on what I have on for the week. And I literally live in my bullet journal.
Yeah.
And I need to keep organized and on top of things because I have so much to do. And it's interesting really that you guys asked me beforehand whether I was full-time or part-time. And I didn't really think about it, but I am full-time, because you put in so much work into your business. I mean, I'm creating every day, and I think I'm definitely doing well over 30, 40 hours a week. And definitely working on weekends as well.
Yeah.
But happily.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes you don't even realize, and then suddenly you think, oh, that's 3 hours I've been working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to do this one thing on a Saturday morning. Woof, it's 4 o'clock on it. Just need to reply to that one email. And then, But it's not, it's kind of, it's like going into a cave, but a kind of a nice cave, because you're just, you want to go in and kind of check it out and progress things and make sure everything's okay for the following week.
Yeah. Give an example of 2 very random things you have on your to-do list this week.
I've got a few videos that I want to splice down so that I can share clips of them onto Instagram. And to reels as well, because I tend to do that a lot, because you can just repurpose your old content and share it again. So I've got that to do. I've got another Facebook Live tomorrow for a company that I work for that I need to prepare for.
Nice.
And I'm also working on an opt-in download for a newsletter signups. Wow. So I've got that to
create,
like a copywriter, a presenter, a video editor.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I never used to love studying as a child, but I seem to have gained that love of learning as an adult. I mean, I'm just constantly taking classes, like on copywriting, on business, on video editing, on social media and marketing. So I'm always looking to better myself in some way,
Yeah.
because I think that's one of my biggest things, is that I always feel like I need to be progressing in some way. So I do that through learning new things and taking new classes.
Nice. Do you? We've seen from going through your Instagram that you do a lot with jelly prints. I'm not sure, is that the right pronunciation?
Yes.
Jelly or gelly?
Yes, gel
Gelli?
printing. Yes.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and kind of how come that became a focus?
Well, gel printing is their catchphrase. The company that I work for is called Jelly Arts. They're an American-based company.
Yeah.
And it's basically their tagline is monoprinting without a press. So the company is, they're such amazing people to work for. I mean, I just have absolutely no words. They're so supportive of us.
Oh,
Nice.
And it just makes it a pleasure to work for a company like that. They're very proudly woman-owned. So it was two ladies who started the company, and one of them was an artist and was very interested in monoprinting. And she thought, how can we make the process of monoprinting simpler without having to have a press that you would need to run your monoprint through to get your impression?
Yeah.
So they came up with this product, and it's basically a plate which is squidgy and it's very flexible. And basically you put some paint on, you roll it out with a brayer, and you put some texture in it, and then you press your paper onto it, rub the back, and magically you have art.
Nice.
And one of the things that I feel I'm very good at is networking. And I used to work with in an arts and crafts manufacturer. My job wasn't creative, but I was in touch with a lot of creative people. So I worked at a lot of international trade shows, art and craft trade shows. And while I was there, I don't know, I just love people.
yeah.
I genuinely love people. So if I found someone who I felt like I had an instant connection with, I would stay in touch.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I am one of those annoying friends that's always like texting you, like, let's meet up, let's do a Zoom.
That's great. Yeah. Always wanting to keep the connection alive.
Yeah, definitely. And that's been so important, especially during these times.
Yeah.
So through my networking, two of my friends were working with Jelly Arts already, and they put out a call for designers. And I asked my friends, should I go for it? And they said, oh yeah, definitely go for it. And at that time, so that was 2018. And at that time, I had just started making videos regularly.
Nice.
So I did know how to make videos before, but that's when I really started focusing into making videos. And they saw my videos and they saw how well they were doing on social media, because social media is geared towards video content.
Yeah.
And they added me as a part of the team. And now I regularly do content for them. So I make videos for them, and I do live classes for them as well as live streams.
Nice. What a job. I think there's lots of people listening. Oh, I would love to be doing that. Get to make things, record it, share it with people.
And how many attend the live streams? Do you know what's the kind of biggest audience you've had in a live stream?
Well, there's a company called Michael's, much like Hobbycraft over here in the UK.
Yeah.
So Jelly Arts they regularly do live streams for Michael's twice a month. So I think that was probably about 300, 400 people watching, which was scary.
Yeah, that is a lot. That's amazing though.
Yeah. It's exhilarating. It's absolutely exhilarating. I mean, I really, what I missed the most during this pandemic was doing face-to-face workshops. And my goal last year was doing X amount of workshops. And that sort of fizzled because of COVID. But live streaming and video making is what has really transformed my career. To be honest, if I had to say what was the one thing that has led to all the opportunities I have right now, is because I focused in on making videos.
And on that, because like you've tons of followers on YouTube and tens of thousands of people watch the videos on YouTube also, like did you kind of fall into the videos things? Because you said about 3 years ago you kind of started it, or were you kind of going in 10 years or 5 years video is going to be huge, so I'm going to spend lots of time now? Like, how did it come about to focus on video? Because as you said, it's had a really profound impact and it's been incredible. Like, was it very intentional, or did you just go, I'll dabble with videos and see what happens?
Well, the thing was that when I first moved to the UK, and even though I spoke the language, we moved to a small town where I didn't really know anyone. And it was a very isolating experience because it took me some time to get used to the British accent.
Yes.
So even going to taking the bus was like an anxiety-inducing experience, because I was thinking, oh, will he understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or will I understand what he's saying? So it was through, at that time, YouTube was really picking up. So this is going back like 12 years ago. So YouTube was just picking up, and I started seeing all these American creatives share videos, tutorials on crafting, and just sharing the magic of creativity. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? There's more people like me out there.
Yeah.
It's like, I there's more people like me out there who love color and paint and crafting. So that's where that's where the idea was planted in my head, that that's maybe what I want to do in the future. And it took me a long time to really just put myself into gear and just go for it, because I always thought that I needed a really fancy setup and expensive equipment and like complicated programs to edit and upload all these videos. And that's after getting asked about creativity, the second question I get asked the most is, how do I make my videos? And I always say is that all you need is your phone.
Yeah.
Seriously, all you need is your phone. 96% of the videos that I share on Instagram are all filmed, edited, and posted directly from my phone.
Wow, yeah.
Nice.
I mean, these days, phones are so powerful.
Yeah.
You can do so much with them. If you wanted to, you could film in 4K with them, but you don't have to. And most of the time, what people forget is we're all consuming social media and content on a screen that is that big. We're not watching these videos on a 4K, like 60, 70-inch television. We're not. We're just watching it on a tiny screen. And all you need is a good idea, and you need to execute it.
Yeah.
I mean, quality isn't as important as being consistent and having a good idea.
Yeah.
If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Get your ideas, execute them, and keep doing that. Yeah, definitely. And we find that as well. I mean, on how we always say, you don't need to take on the mountain, you start small, you just start with a step, and then
exactly
before you know it, you'll find yourself halfway across, because you just get better through iteration.
Oh, definitely. What used to take me hours before now takes me minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess on that point is, like, if you'd started the videos 12 years ago, you would have needed all the equipment potentially, and then it's just in the last 5 years it's got phenomenal. As you say, you have videos, and it's cheap to get tripods if you need tripods, and then distributing them is really cheap as well. So that's amazing.
I mean, I started video making like a couple of years ago, and whereas now you can get these really amazing RMs specifically made for phones, like some really cheap ones as well.
Yeah.
But when I bought my arm, I have like one of those fancy Manfrotto variable friction arms hooked onto my wall.
Yeah.
That is expensive. And I bought that like years ago. Whereas before you couldn't, buy something as inexpensive as you can these days.
Yeah. Yeah. It's way more accessible. What do you do with a company called Altenew? I don't know how you say that. Altenew?
Altenew, yes.
Altenew, yeah. I think I've seen you, work with them a fair bit.
Yes, I am on their design team as well. And I am part of their mixed media design team. So Altenew is a really amazing company that is run by some individuals who I have so much respect for, because the way that they have built the company to what it is right now has been absolutely phenomenal. So they're an American company again. And I met one of their marketing people at one of the trade shows, and I became really friendly with her over the years. And she saw what I did and she liked what I did. And I used to do guest design team work for them. And my focus became more towards mixed media. In the past couple of years, my focus has been more towards mixed media now. And they really like what I did. Their stuff is very beautiful. It's very floral. It's very clean and simple. Whereas with me, it's like an explosion of color and texture.
Yeah, it's very textured. Yeah.
So they really liked what I did. And they wanted to introduce their audience to a different way of looking at their products. So, which is why they brought me on, and I do videos for them, blog posts for them. I am going to be starting something else with them as well, which I can't say.
Top secret.
And I've got 2 online workshops coming up with them. So one has just been launched, and I've got another one coming up soon, which I can't say what it is, but I'm really excited about it. And it's an amazing company, and I'm so grateful to them that they gave me a chance.
Yeah.
A chance, because that's what you need. You need one person to give you a chance, and that's your foot in the door.
Yeah, definitely.
Would it be fair to say on that point that you mentioned about networking and keeping in contact? Is that a kind of an example of something that you heard about the organization and just were a bit proactive in keeping in touch with people, and then an opportunity arose and then you've kind of grasped the opportunity? The reason I say this is that I think a victim a little bit of Instagram is that people think everybody sees what they do because it's on Instagram, they've posted about something, whereas you still have to do the behind the scenes stuff and message people and keep in touch, because that's where opportunities can arise. Was that something that was the case in that particular one, or am I totally wrong with that?
No, it's a combination of both. It's a combination of both, just putting myself out there and really honing in on my skills and really trying to find a voice.
Yeah.
Having a voice and being individual. And I would personally say networking did help a lot, because I did make it a point to, after I left my full-time job, I did make it a point to invest in going to trade shows, international trade shows. So within the arts and crafts industry, there's a couple of trade shows, some in America. So I went to one in America, and I went to one in Frankfurt as well, that I ended up working at.
Nice.
I found someone who needed a demonstrator. There's another company that I do a lot of work with. They're another American company called Graphics,
yeah.
who who I was introduced to through a friend as well. So a lot of the opportunities I have were because I heard of the company or I was introduced to the company through a friend as well. And it's not easy. It's not easy to put yourself out there. And I think sometimes you just have to take the risk and just go for an opportunity and try out new things that make you uncomfortable, because growth is on the other side of that discomfort.
Yes, absolutely.
And the American show I went to, I didn't really know anyone that much, but because I was there, I was able to form a stronger connection with people who had sort of heard of me. So they were able to meet me in person and sort of get an idea of who I was. And I think that really did help. But at the same time, I do a lot of stuff with other companies who I've never met in person, because they have seen my work on social media. They've seen me do stuff in magazines, and social media has been a massive help.
Yeah,
it's been a massive help. It's basically become like my portfolio.
Yes, your online portfolio.
But
Basically,
I guess, a big takeaway there for people listening is, if you are starting out and you want to build connections, I know trade shows can be really expensive sometimes, and it can be more established companies is reach out and say, hey, do you need help at this? If you run workshops, you'd be really good at demonstrating to people how to use different products, and then you still get to meet lots of people. You get to see what else is going on. That's a really smart idea.
What people don't realize is that the opportunities I have right now, what I have way more rejection letters or unanswered emails, or you're not the right fit for us. It's inevitable. I mean, you have to deal with that as well. So you have to be prepared for rejection letters and people who just simply do not have the time to answer your email. And sometimes it takes more than a couple of emails to build up a relationship with a company. Because when you're cold emailing someone, it's something that it's not solicited. So it's not really recommended as well at the same time. But I found that was the way that I got work with magazines. Because magazine work, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Editors, they've got monthly deadlines, and they're working with magazines, multiple magazines at the same time, and they're often so very busy. So sometimes you might be able to catch them, sometimes you won't. And when you do hear back from them, and if they do say that you're not the right fit for them, ask for feedback. And be prepared to take that feedback on board without taking it personally. Because that is key, because you need to take constructive criticism at the end of the day if you want to improve, if it's a company that you really want to do stuff for. And if you really want to be noticed by a company, I would suggest that you use their products on social media in your own very unique style, and tag them and be consistent, because these are companies that are being bombarded by requests for free stuff all the time. So you have to show that you are actually someone who is a professional, who takes things seriously and has something to offer them. So it has to be all about, what can I offer to a company so that they can hire me? It's always about thinking about that.
And that a big part of that is research and figuring out from, if it's a bigger company, what's their mission, what are they interested in, what have they shared before, kind of what new campaigns might they have coming up, and then helping that inform what you make and present to them, or if you do get in contact, kind of mentioning that, because yeah, I think a lot of people do that. They kind of, there's an expectation, especially if it's a bigger company. It's like, I want to work for you, so come on over here and work with me, rather than, yeah, what can you bring?
Here's what
them?
I can do for you. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Here's why people would appreciate it, why your fans or followers or customers would really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I've done it before. Kind of pitch it that way. And
yeah,
kind of, as you say, empathy plays a big part in that. Is like putting yourself in their shoes to figure out what might be interesting to them,
yeah,
and then presenting that.
definitely.
Kind of moving on, just because the theme for this series is kind of around creativity and happiness. We've talked about some kind of serious businessy things, which I think would be really useful for people listening.
Yeah.
Big question here, but kind of what role do you think being more creative can have on people's happiness?
Well, art and craft to me it's basically my therapy. It's basically my therapy. And when I am in my creative space, I feel like I can block off the whole world, and I'm using my hands. I'm getting my fingers dirty with paint. I'm using all my favorite things, and it forces me to switch off my overthinking brain, basically.
Yeah.
So basically, creativity, I think, is something that everyone should do. And when someone says to me that they're not creative, I would always say you just haven't found the right outlet.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different ways to be creative. You can cook, you can do home decor, you can do art and craft like I do, you can write, you can exercise, you can garden. There's just so many different outlets to be creative.
Yeah.
So it's just something different from what you're doing from your day-to-day life, because most of the time we're stuck in front of screens. So you gotta have something that allows you to put away your phones, put away your screens, and just completely switch off, so that you allow yourself that headspace to just be.
Yeah, there's something so satisfying about just thinking of an idea and then working on it for a little bit, half an hour, 2 hours, and then there's a thing that's there that kind of didn't exist prior to that.
Something
and it's a reflection
visible,
of your creativity, or it's really, really nice. Do you kind of have any rituals with that, in terms of, I don't know, is there particular crafts that are go-to when you want to relax? Because I know you do lots of content, it sounds like, for partners and companies. Is there something totally separate to that, that's your kind of, this is my creative activity, that's what I do when I'm a bit stressed out maybe, and I kind of go into the studio and do it?
Well, it's hard, because when your hobby becomes your job, then it becomes really hard to switch off. And to be honest, I never really do switch off. So I'm always constantly thinking about, I can make videos on this and content ideas and this and that. But if I want to, I can, the things that I normally would do, which are really, really mine, are embroidery.
Nice.
So, and cross stitch, which is something that's very repetitive, and I find repetitive motions very soothing somehow. So even if I was just sitting there just doing like one stamp move to the side and doing the same thing over and over again, I just find that very relaxing somehow. So cross stitch, where it's a very repetitive movement where you're doing the same sewing motion over and over again, I find that very relaxing as well.
And would you, with the embroidery as an example, or cross stitch, would you make things for yourself, or would you tend to make something as a gift for somebody else? Like, do you kind of go in and go, cool, I've had this idea, I'd love to have it in my room, I'm going to go and make it? Or does it usually tend to be for somebody else, which is both are really special?
I do both. So one of the things that I made was for my husband, actually. And we're both very big fans of Seinfeld.
Nice.
So I cross-stitched a quote from Seinfeld onto a frame for him.
Oh,
So
what was the quote? Do you remember?
these pretzels are making me thirsty.
It's a great show. I didn't watch Seinfeld for a long time. It was only about 2 years ago. I just, over a week, probably, well, not a week, because there's a lot of episodes, over about a month, watched the whole thing. It's really, really good. And kind of, yeah, do you design it in Canva or a piece of software, or do you just sketch a design out and transfer it on?
Well, that one I had to, I think I used Paint to design the.
Wow,
Nice.
yeah.
I used Paint to design it, the thing, but most of the time I just wing it. But I do have some old cross-stitch books that used to belong to my aunt, who used to live with us. She's passed away now. So I have those books on embroidery and cross-stitch, so I can refer to designs from those.
Brilliant.
And I sort of have like a little memory of her.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a way of
That's
having her
really
there
nice.
with you when you
each time
you refer to them.
Yeah.
And where do you get your inspiration from? You know, you said that's kind of your therapy and it's your way of switching off. Where do you get the inspiration to create designs or to play in a certain way?
Well, I think I draw a lot of inspiration from my love of color and from my culture as well. So I come from a country that is rich with all sorts of crafting, woodwork, jewelry making, metalwork. I grew up in dresses that were handmade, that were often designed by myself or my mother. And it's just something that I think is in my blood. And I've also found, funnily enough, we were having this conversation before the recording started about not having the time to do something creative for yourself. I found that even making a few minutes for myself every day, even if it's a project that I don't complete, just having that few minutes of just stamping a simple image or coloring in something, and you don't necessarily have to finish it, that really fulfills me, and that fuels me to be more focused, and just inspires me to be more creative every day. It's funny, really. You would have thought that it's counterintuitive, that if you do it regularly, that it would sap you of that inspiration, but it doesn't. It just gets you to it fuels me even more so. And that's a process that's different for everyone, so you have to find a balance that works for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like exercise in a sense, I guess. If you're into running, the more you run, the more fitter you get, the longer you can run, the more you can, and with creativity, the more you can experiment, the more ideas will pop into your head. It's magic. I love that. Like, we did a class last night, creative hand lettering, and just you think of things as you're going, when you just allow yourself to be in the moment almost, and then oh, this looks like this, so I'm going to draw. Like, it's magic, and you can't predict what's going to happen in your own brain when you're doing something creative.
No.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, next question that I have, and we've kind of touched on it a little bit. It's just going back to the leading a more creative or happier life. Is there 3 things that you'd recommend? I guess we kind of touched on doing things regularly is good, and kind of just whatever it is, painting, doing some embroidery. But is there 3 things that have particularly helped you to lead a more creative or happier life that could be useful for people? It could be a podcast or a book or an activity or a group that you might be involved in.
I think finding time to be creative every day, having goals and enjoying the process, is important. And what I've been recently really enjoying is morning pages, actually.
Yes, I've started doing The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron about 5 weeks ago. It's really good.
Yeah. So morning pages have recently just really transformed my outlook. I mean, I'm really into reading all sorts of books about learning and marketing and productivity and all that stuff. And The Artist's Way was just one of those things that constantly kept popping up.
Yeah.
So I always thought, okay, I'll make time to read it, maybe some other time. And then I was like, okay, no, let's just start. And it's been incredible because as an artist and creative, we have so much going on in our heads, like 100 miles an hour. And the morning pages just helps you to dump all of that onto a page, and then you can just forget about it and move on with the rest of your day.
Yeah.
So I've really found that that's very, very helpful.
And I think I found it really nice that you're being led a little bit, because there's like the 12-week program, there's lots of tasks each week in the book at least, and in the morning pages. It's really nice as somebody that runs their own business to just let someone else kind of tell you what to do a little bit and have a process that's been happening for a long time and that's worked with lots of people. Everyone, I think, would benefit from
doing
The Artist's Way, and at least the morning pages. I sat down this morning a little bit stressed out, and that was the first thing I wrote. And then within 2 pages of just writing stuff, I was like, it's just lifts your mood. It's so nice. So definitely anyone listening. Even if you're not stressed, it's a really nice ritual, and it brings a lot of clarity to your life, I think, and kind of sets a nice foundation for the start of your day. That's a really good recommend. Tania, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I need to do it. I see you doing it every morning, and I was thinking, I need to read the book and get into that, because I journal, but I think having that ritual of doing it first thing in the morning, clear, I think, that's
and I would also recommend Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art.
The War of Art. Okay.
That's a very, very good book. And there's a shorter version of it called Do the Work. So that's like a nice kick up the backside for when you're having that resistance. Why am I doing this? I don't want to do this. And you're in procrastination mode.
Yeah, definitely. I think, did I just read something on I think it was an Instagram, there's a Picasso quote that says, inspiration will find you when you're doing the work.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think it's something along the lines of inspiration needs to find you working. So I'm butchering it.
Yeah.
But that it's something along those lines. Is that if you can't, if you're gonna sit around and wait for motivation, then you are going to fail.
Yeah.
Because motivation is a fleeting thing.
Yeah.
And when you are a professional, you can't sit around and wait for the muses to come to you and, help you out. That's not going to happen. Sometimes you just have to put in the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And equally, I heard that when you have that fleeting inspiration and motivation, you should act on it immediately. You should do something immediately that
take action. Yeah,
exactly. Because it's not going to be there for ages. So you might as well utilize it. And I thought, I really love those two sides. So basically, always be in action, always be doing that work, because that kind of keeps that momentum going. That's been a good lesson for us as well, hasn't it?
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think even excuse me, with music, you often hear about that with musicians, and a band goes into record. They could be in a studio for a month, but they're in there every day working, and then it might take a week of messing around, and then you kind of come up with a song, and they've just recorded all night, and then it's there forever. But they're kind of just putting the work in during the day, and then when the inspiration comes, it comes. Okay, The next question here, and we're kind of coming towards the end, sadly, because it's been so nice kind of chatting to you. But there's a couple more questions. One of which is, when you look back from now, when you're kind of full-time doing this 5, 6, maybe 7 days a week, as a kind of full-time creative, what 3 things do you think people who are looking to take the leap into either doing a full-time or making a bit of a creative side business, what 3 things would be useful for them to keep in mind as they embark on that journey? So it could be somebody listening that is really good at embroidery, makes things for friends, wants to maybe take it to the next level a little bit, or somebody has a really nice Instagram account that's been going for 3 or 4 years. People really like it, but they don't necessarily devote more than half a day or a day a week to it. What would be useful to know?
Enjoy the process and just really savor the journey.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that if you're not happy in yourself in this moment with your life, then you are not going to be happy when you achieved your goals. Because it's always going to be about, what's the next goal? What's the next goal? So it's really cliched, but enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
So that's one. And the second one would definitely be take risks. Take risks and put yourself out there. And you never know what sort of magic you're putting out there into the universe, and you never know in what shape or form it's going to come back to you. So take risks and try new things.
And do your best. I'd just add a little bit to that. Once you're doing your best, you can't do any more than that, really.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And just the third one, I think the biggest one for me is be consistent.
Yeah. I really like that.
So it's, if you want to develop your craft, then you need to put in that time and be consistent. Because when you're doing things over and over again, you're honing your skills. You're also thinking about, how can I make this different? How can I do this in my own style? And you're finding your own voice, so to speak. So this is why I said before as well that if there's any challenges that people are hosting within your community, then take part in those. So that sort of helps you to focus on, some of them might have prompts which you can help to get you going and posting every day. You could also do the 100-day project as well if you wanted to. Or if there's no challenge in your community, then make one. And you connect with amazing like-minded individuals. It might be crickets in the beginning. It always is, but it builds. It really does build.
Yeah, you kind of have to do it for a few months consistently, because I think a lot of the time it's like the first month people are like kind of looking at it, checking it a little bit, seeing, is this going to continue? And then they're kind of, okay, the person's serious almost, I'm going to get involved. And then you can get even more momentum. I think we've been guilty of that. Is kind of like, we give something a go, give it our best shot, and then don't do it again for another 6 months. And it's almost like, it's a bit silly in hindsight. You just have to keep
building up on it.
Yeah, whether it's a new class or something like that. It's like, oh, we've listed it, nobody booked on, let's stop it. It's like listed 10 times, and then after 8 or 9, people might start to come to it, if it's good and you believe in it. I get kind of the last 2 questions here is kind of, what does long-term success
for you look like?
Yeah, like I get the impression you've quite a good structure. You have your journal, you kind of know what you're doing each week, you're very organized. But like, what is in 20 years time, or if you've thought that far ahead, like, what's the vision of success? And I know that means different things to different people, but I guess, where would you like your life to be?
I do have some very big scary goals. And I think it's good to have those kind of goals so that you have something to go look forward to, something to work towards. But I think what's been very important for me is not just to have those goals and work towards them, but also work on myself in the moment as I am in right now. So like we talked about doing the morning pages, enjoying the journey, and just really making the time to get yourself really in a good place mentally as well as physically, so that you have that momentum to get to your goals. So I do have some big things that I'm working on right now.
Nice.
So if anyone is interested, you can sign up to my newsletter and follow me on social media as well. And just keep up to date with any news that might be coming up.
Okay, so your big goals are your big secret goals. Is it 1 million subscribers on YouTube? You know, that a product line. A product line made by Tania Ahmed. I can see these things happening.
Oh, thank you, lovely.
And I think Diana's really good at that she has her goals. They're like literally printed out with pictures beside her bed, and kind of wakes up every morning and looks at them, because you can filter things out then as they come in, whether they're kind of a little bit in line. Obviously, you want to have time to do random stuff because it's just fun to do. But having the long term in mind is always helpful.
It keeps you on the path.
I definitely do visualization.
Yeah.
Definitely do visualization. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
In terms of where people can find out about you, I kind of mentioned the Instagram, which is at Tania Ahmed. So TANIA AHMED. The website, what's the URL for that again, Tania?
So it's taniaahmedcreative.com.
It's always good to get the .com.
Yeah, creative with with an E at the end.
And then to kind of wrap up, is there anything that people should be aware of that's coming up? I know you mentioned a few classes. I guess if people sign up to the newsletter on the website, they'll find out about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you visit me on my Instagram profile, I've got a couple of free downloads that you can sign up to my newsletter and keep up to date with all that's up and coming soon.
Okay, and there's some exciting dates. I know you can't exactly say what they are, but you said there's some exciting things coming out in May.
Yes.
Mid-May, was it?
So I've got something coming out in early May, mid-May, as well as end of May. So I am juggling a lot of things right now.
Yeah, great. So everyone, check Tania out and be sure to be in tune with what she's doing in May. It's going to be a big month for her.
Thank you, Tania. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much.
So that's the end of that episode. We really hope you enjoyed it and would love to hear what you learned. If you haven't yet, be sure to click that subscribe button and get first dibs on all future episodes.
Also, be sure to check out the previous ones because there's some fantastic nuggets and amazing guests there too. We do this podcast for free in the hope that you can benefit from it. So any support you can give us would be incredible. Please tell your friends, tell your neighbors, your parents, your cats and dogs about it. We would love to really grow this podcast even better. Please leave us a review. We love reading them.
And if you'd like to explore that creative side of yours, be sure to check out at MYO London or at Creative Jungle Co. on Instagram and get in touch.
Here's to a much more creative and happier life.
You got this, you creative legend.